Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 394 of CryptoBiography, and I'm calling this one 80. And so if you listened to the last one, you probably know that I was gone for the last week or so. So I did a look back on 2024 and the writing I did this last year in the last episode, and that was a lot of fun to do. And actually, like I said in the last episode, it's something I should do more of. Like I think this is the first time I've actually done it, and yet we're 4 years into more than 4 years into the podcast. So, so I'm calling this one 80 because I was gone for about a week with my son. We went down to California to my aunt and uncle's house, and we met up with my mom and my sister's family there, and a couple of my cousins on my aunt and uncle's side. And this is all just after Christmas to celebrate my mom's 80th birthday. And so she's 80 now, which is really cool. And it was really lovely seeing everyone and, visiting. Got to hear some old stories again. Got information on a couple of old stories that I hadn't known before. We got to see some live theater and have a good couple of meals, and mostly we just visited at my aunt and uncle's house and did a couple of walks along the bluffs overlooking the ocean, and it was really lovely. The whole thing was lovely. I also, when I rented a car, they gave me an electric car, which I wasn't really expecting, but was interesting. Kind of made me realize how not a big deal it is, and when all is said and done, it's like, even though I didn't have any way to trickle charge it at the place we were staying, so we just had to, fully more or less fully charge it at one of the fast charge stations. It took a little while, so it was longer as far as that goes than a gasoline car. But the cost was about the same per mile, and this was, the most expensive way to do it, using a, credit card, using public fast charging station. If you have a slow charger, even one that's paid, it's significantly cheaper. And then if you're actually doing the electricity from like your own house, then it's even cheaper than that. And of course, there's some like businesses that have charging stations for their employees and stuff like that, where you can actually get free mileage as well, which is pretty cool. But anyway, I really thought that was interesting. Really good acceleration because of the way the electric engines work, and because it was a relatively new one. It's called a Polestar. Was the brand, and apparently it has a pretty good reputation. This one was rented through Hertz, and it had like 40,000 miles on it, and had sort of a built-in iPad sort of looking thing. I don't know if it was actually an iPad or not. Probably was some other device, but anyway, partly because the map based defaulted to Google Maps, so I'm kind of assuming that it was actually Google based under the hood, Android based rather. Anyway, so it was really kind of cleverly put together. It was interesting how like the regenerative braking, so you could actually see the the energy coming back to the battery on some long down hills. I could actually see the percentage of the battery go up one, like sometimes, which is interesting because you never see that in a gasoline car. You just go from full to empty, and it never goes the other way. So that was kind of cool. Anyway. I'm kind of getting off the subject. So my mom turned 80, and this sort of hit me a little differently. I think it really did. I think partly because I lost my father. We lost my father, just a couple years ago in 2021, and now my mom's 80, and I think partly why that hits me as such a strong number is, it's an even number, and I'm sure those always hit a little harder, but especially 80 in my mom's case, because when we were young, like when I was a kid growing up, and even occasionally throughout my adulthood and whatever, she would just kind of mention that like 80 was like about as long as she wanted to live. Like she always looked ahead in her life, and she always wanted to live a good long life, but she never really wanted to lived so long that she, had a lot of health issues or whatever. I didn't actually talk with this about her. Maybe I should have. I'm hoping that she feels differently about it now. She seems to be, she's mostly healthy. She's on a few medications, but nothing serious, just stuff that, like I'm only in my 50s and I'm taking blood pressure medication while she's taking something similar for her cholesterol. And, it's just sort of maintenance stuff, but she doesn't have any like serious health issues too much, although, well, I really can't get into it. They're her health issues, so I won't say another word, but she's living a pretty solid quality of life. And so hopefully she, feels like things are going okay. Maybe she'll push for 90 or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how her feelings have changed. But anyway, regardless of how she feels, how it kind of made me feel differently, because she always said she just wanted to live to 80. And it's like, okay, she's there now. And it feels, it makes me feel weird. Like, I guess, yeah, she's not going to be around too much longer. And that's obviously true, though. I mean, once you get to 80, you can, there's only so long that people live. And, that's just how things are. But when the person involved, that you love has actually said all your life that, that's how long she's looking to live, it does hit a little differently. And it's kind of weirding me out a little bit. But I think, she's pretty happy about how she's doing and so on. And, yeah. And but it was an interesting, it made it sort of interesting. It also sort of, it felt, not just because of that, but in addition, because that happened, it really feels like another sort of phase almost. Usually I find that when I'm looking at like phases in my own life, it tends to be off of things that happened in my life. So, graduation from college, or graduation even from high school, or when we moved from California to Idaho when I was 9, or when I lost my first wife, or when I met my new wife. And but this one kind of feels almost as strong as those sorts of big changes. Only it's nothing to do with me. It's something that happened in my mom's life, which is interesting, because I guess in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, yeah, that's when she turns 80. That's sort of a big deal. And because of that, that's sort of how my psychology is reacting to the situation. It's a very strange feeling. But hopefully she will live a good long time longer. And she is still the same warm, giving, loving person. And I'm very, very fortunate that I am her son. And yeah, so anyway, I will spend this next week writing as much as I can. Tomorrow I'm actually bringing my son back to college. He is going to be graduating after this quarter, so I'm really excited for him for that. And he'll probably go for a master's, so he's actually not done with his college, but he will at least have his bachelor's in mathematics after this. So other than tomorrow, when I'm going to be driving him back to college and then coming back to the house, I'm going to be spending as much time as I can this week writing. And I must say, I'm still having some of the same sort of writing block sort of difficulty coming up with ideas that really excite me at the moment. I have some germs of ideas, and then every time I kind of start one up, it kind of fizzles a lot, and I can't really. It's like it's kind of escaping me. It's going through my fingers like if you ever have a balloon on a string and you let it go for just a second, and then you try to grab it again, but it slips through your fingers. It feels like that. Anyway, thank you for listening. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, and hit us up on Facebook or Blue Sky. Technically, I do have an X/Twitter account, but I use it less and less. And thanks for listening. Words of Music, copyright 2025 now. Brandon Starr, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.